A woman I'll call Kathy reached out to me on Instagram by DM this week. And Kathy had heard me talking about hormonal poverty and hormonal prosperity. Maybe you have too. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing it. And like Kathy, you're like, what is hormonal poverty? What is hormonal prosperity? In another video, I talked about what hormonal poverty is. So if you want to watch that, definitely click the link below. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what hormonal prosperity is. But it was so interesting because in her message, she said, what the heck is hormonal poverty, ? And what is hormonal prosperity? That sounds like something I need. And maybe that sounds like something you need too. Everybody is aware that financial poverty is when you don't have the financial resources to meet your living needs. Well, hormonal poverty is when you don't have the hormonal resources to meet your body's needs. Every cell, every system in the body depends on these vital hormone communicators, messengers, nourishing. They're just, they're so luscious and important for every cell and every system in your body. And so hormonal poverty leads to 3 consequences: midlife metabolic mayhem, the 60 symptoms you might be experiencing starting at 35, or disease, or premature death, right? And if you aren't aware of those 3 consequences, you definitely want to watch my other video on what are the 3 consequences of hormonal poverty. This video is about hormonal prosperity. So hormonal prosperity is when you know that your hormone levels are low, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, thyroid is what we're talking about here, and you do something to get your levels into the optimal ranges. Just like if you're in financial poverty, you don't want that, you do something to change your income to get to financial prosperity. If you're in hormonal poverty, you got to do something to get to hormonal prosperity. And what hormonal prosperity means is that you have optimal levels of the sex hormones as well as thyroid to feed and nourish your cells and your systems so that you can, number one, ameliorate the symptoms of midlife metabolic mayhem. Maybe it's hair falling out, maybe it's fatigue, maybe you're waking up in the middle of the night, maybe you have no sex drive whatsoever, maybe you can't have an orgasm, maybe your gut has gone crazy, or you're having memory lapses, or your mood is up and down, or maybe it's just down, or anxiety that's interfering with your life. The list of symptoms is long, at least 60 or so. What are they for you? I'd love to know. Reach out to me on social media and let us know. And let us know what you want to see videos about, because I know you're not getting this information in your mainstream doctor's offices. And that's my mission, is to give you the information that you need to take action to get to hormonal prosperity. So you've got to get to prosperity to get rid of midlife metabolic mayhem. And number 2, prevent disease or maybe help to reverse it. Data is very early, but the data is very clear that higher optimal levels of hormones, sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, are associated with lower rates of things like dementia, heart disease, osteoporosis, autoimmune disease, immune system dysfunction, right? So disease is lower. And then number 3, the data is clear that the earlier we go into menopause and hormonal poverty, the shorter our lifespan. It's also clear that replacing these hormones with natural hormones is associated with a prolongation of the lifespan. So the 3 consequences of hormonal poverty can be ameliorated by getting to hormonal prosperity. So how do you do that? Well, I always say that there are the things you don't need a prescription for, and then there are the things that you need a prescription for. Now, if you're on that menopause spectrum, and if you're not sure what that is or where you are on it, you would definitely want to watch my videos on that. then you need to figure out where you are and what your levels are and where are you hormonally impoverished. And then you may not need a prescription. It depends on what stage you are in. Like, let's say you're 35 and your progesterone is a little bit deficient. That's a very common scenario. It wasn't the woman who reached out to me's scenario, but I hear that a lot. So what can you do? Well, there's some herbs that you can use that help to jumpstart the ovaries and tell it, wake up, make more progesterone. This is a common finding in the 30-year-old age range, particularly if you have infertility, PCOS, or any estrogen dominant conditions like endometriosis, fibroids, heavy painful periods. And that can be accomplished with some herbs like chaste tree, right? That's an herb that you can take that sometimes will help to wake up your ovaries. But past a certain point, because most of these sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, come from your ovaries. And when you hit that menopause spectrum at age 35 or definitely by 40 and you get the declining levels, at some point your ovaries' ability to make these sex hormones is going to start going down. Now, herbs initially may help them make a higher level, but at some point they are not going to be able to keep up with what your cells desire to see, need to see to be optimally healthy. So at that point, when you're in that impoverished state, progesterone is often the first one for which that happens. Then you need to replace your progesterone. And that's how you get to hormonal prosperity. So there are some over-the-counter progesterone, natural progesterone creams that you can use on your skin. You definitely want to get a high quality one that is what we call pharmaceutical grade nutraceuticals, and we'll talk about that in another video, because not all over-the-counter supplements are created equal. So you want a high quality that they've proven that's what they say is in there is actually in there, and that it's pure as well. It doesn't have contaminants. So using progesterone creams can sometimes help restore you to hormonal prosperity. And then as you progress in that menopause spectrum, then you will eventually get to where you have estrogen impoverishment. Not everybody gets to testosterone impoverishment, although the literature says that it's about 50% of women, but in the women I see, it's more like 80 to 90% of women are testosterone deficient. And maybe I just see more symptomatic women, or a population that's skewed on the more severe end. I'm not sure, but definitely it's about 80 to 90% of the women I see are testosterone deficient as well. And if you're not aware, testosterone is super important for women, not only men, and we'll talk about that in another video. But that is how you get to hormonal prosperity. So in the beginning, you might not need a prescription. You might get away with herbs for symptomatic treatment for low estrogen. That might be dong quai or black cohosh or some soy extracts. But at some point, in order to get the benefits that these sex hormones give you, where they stimulate and nourish all the cells and systems in your body, and if you want optimum health, you really can't do it without, you're going to need a prescription. And that's going to be for biologically identical estrogen, which usually includes estradiol and estriol, and progesterone, and possibly testosterone. So you can have exactly what your body needs to get to hormonal prosperity. And the studies clearly show that hormonal prosperity is associated with less midlife metabolic mayhem, lower incidence of and severity of disease, and a prolonged lifespan. That sounds pretty good to me. So Kathy, if you're watching, that's what hormonal prosperity is. It is the antidote to hormonal poverty. If you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you give it a thumbs up, but mostly Share it with the women in your life you love, because this information they're not getting at their mainstream doctor's offices. And so we've got to share this information grassroots style with the women that we love in our lives so that they can be educated and empowered to change their health and experience what's possible for them at every age. Thanks so much for joining me.